Hello, everyone. Welcome to twitch.tv/the Onyx Path. My name is Travis. My pronouns are he and they. And when I'm not running games or creating content, as I'm doing today right here on the Twitch stream, I write them for Onyx Path and for various other companies. The reason for getting together today, I'm going to be running an Aberrant one-shot tomorrow night at 9 p.m. It's going to be a revisitation of a couple of sessions that we ran previously in Storypath Showcase with Dark Matter and their crew. And I wanted to put together a couple of extra antagonists that will ultimately be making their way over to the Storypath Nexus. Now, I'm not entirely sure if any of these will actually see gameplay during the session on Wednesday. I don't know, because I'm going to be using the Edgebrook rooftops as our source for that. So that has plenty of antagonists in it. That is a tasty bit that came out recently. I had the pleasure of working on. It offers 3 different scenarios in a highly detailed neighborhood, has all sorts of goodies in there, including antagonists, plot hooks, things along those lines. And that is available at the link I'm about to share in the chat. So if you've not yet checked that out, pick up the Edgebrook rooftops over at Drive-Thru RPG. I also want to make you aware that we do still have just under 48 hours left on the Trinity Continuum Aegis Kickstarter. Or, I'm sorry, Backer Kit. Ooh, somebody's going to shoot me for saying that. So yeah, head over to Backer Kit and pick up Trinity Continuum Aegis if you have not yet done so. It would help if I typed it in properly. As we all know, Travis doesn't type and talk too well at the same time, so this might be, we might have a little bit of fun as we are putting together our antagonists. So just a couple quick things about the format here. Basically, I'm going to be working, kind of talking through some of the decisions that I'm making and whatnot. Obviously, I'll be engaging with chat as much as chat wishes to engage. If you have ideas, feel free to fire them off in chat. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. If you have any particular requests, things you'd like to see, give me a shout, let me know. But yeah, the next couple hours, I'm going to be here getting characters cranked out. Those will ultimately wind up in a release over at the Storypath Nexus that I believe I'm going to call Night Watch's Rogues Gallery. If you have not yet picked up the Edgebrook Rooftops, there is a municipal defender in there called Night Watch. It's actually a legacy mantle. So the original Night Watch, who is now retired, their stats are provided, as are the replacement, the current Night Watch's stats. So I figure since we have this sort of continuity that we've built within that product of an area that has a history of having a Nova Defender, might as well expand on that by giving them some villains to fight, right? So you'll note displayed on my screen, I have a screen capture of a InDesign layout sheet. When I am working on community content, I will frequently work right in InDesign, partially because it helps me see like exactly how much space I need to fill in order to get the product together, but also because I'm lazy and I don't want to do things in Word and then have to import them and lay them out again. So I might as well just do it right there in InDesign. If you're not able to get your hands on InDesign for whatever reason, I know there are Word templates up on the Storypath Nexus. So you should definitely look into those. And I will be talking repeatedly about the Nexus over the course of the next hour and a half, 2 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw a link to the Nexus in there. That is our community content site. You can do several of our settings have community content option for them. So, for example, if you wanted to make Scion content, you can do so. If you wanted to make Trinity Core, Aberrant, or Aeon content, you may do so. And as those unlock, they're added to the FAQ, which I'll also post a link to. So, and that's a really good resource to have, is the Nexus FAQ. Anytime you're doing community content, which several other places have as well. You have the DMs Guild, you have several programs through DriveThruRPG, and then you have the Storytellers Vault as well. And you want to make sure whatever you are working with, whatever program you're working with, that you're heading over to the FAQ over at DriveThruRPG. They've just relocated, so you might have to do a little bit of fancy footwork with your Googles and such. But in those FAQs and help articles, each program has its guidelines, its rules. It breaks down what you can and cannot create, both in terms of which IPs you can use and in terms of what kinds of products you can use. Okay, so just to give you an idea, like some will allow you to make just strictly role-playing game supplements that are set in the continuity of their world and use their characters and such. Another one might let you do audio recordings, whether that be dramatic readings or music inspired by. Like it really depends on the particular program that you're creating for. So I recommend that people always go through and check out those guidelines to make sure that what they are building is in accordance with them. But what we are doing right now is just going to be a straight collection of antagonists for use with Trinity Continuum Aberrant, perfectly legal and fun, and so we're going to knock it out. Normally I work art first, partially because it's a lot easier for me. I use a lot of stock art in my community content program creations, and it's a lot easier for me to look at a piece of art and build a concept around it than it is for me to sift through the remarkable amount of community content that's out there, or of stock art that's out there, and try to find specifically what I want. If you're new to creating community content, there are art packs provided for each game line. If you go, there's, I believe, there's an Aberrant layout pack and then an Aberrant art pack that you can download. Might be 2 art packs for Aberrant. And those are full of art that actually appeared in the books that you are cleared to use in your community content offerings. However, sometimes that can feel a little repetitive, especially if you've been doing it for a while. Like, I would recommend someone who maybe has been creating but is new, like maybe you've been doing stuff on the DMs Guild or the Storypath Vault, but you're new to the Storypath Nexus. Go ahead and hit that base free stock art that comes out with the program and use it up in your products. I see no reason not to do it. You might want to grab a stock art cover or something like that, but then again, you might not, Exhaust that resource. It's there. It's free. There's really no reason not to use them. But once you have sort of used them up, then maybe start looking at incorporating some stock art, or dig for stock art right away. I'm not your dad. Do what you want. I have a couple of artists that I specifically pull from on DriveThru frequently, just because I've pulled from a lot of their stuff, so I know kind of what they have on offer. For superhero or modern stuff, I often go with JES Shields. I often go with Shaman Stock Art, pull some stuff from Dean Spencer, whom I absolutely adore. And I pull some stuff from Quiet Thunder is another good place to get some stock art that'll fit. So just a couple of ideas there. But today, actually, I think all the stock art that we're going to be pulling from for our design is going to be stuff that I've gotten from LPJ. They have a superhero universe of their own, so they put a lot of that stuff up on stock art, which makes an affordable way to get your hands on a whole bunch of stock. So I don't think, I'm going to watch in the monitor, but I don't think you're going to be able to see as I search through and populate these, but I'm going to do them two at a time. I already got one done before we went live, but then I didn't realize how late it was, so I did not get the second one in time. So if you have any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns in the interim, as I'm going through and fleshing this out, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I will get to them as soon as possible. I don't expect this is going to be so many questions that I'm going to lose track of them, but you can always use chips of Onyx to highlight your question so that I'm sure that I see it. Or you can type question in all caps at the beginning of it when you enter it. So yeah, let's see. What do we want to have here? We definitely want to... so as presented in Edgebrook Rooftops, Night Watch 2, the current Night Watch, is something of a tech-oriented, inventor, Q-Tech focused hero. So we definitely want to have at least one or two antagonists in the rogues gallery that fit that. She rocks a power suit. I think maybe she should have a nemesis that rocks a power suit. So I'm going to grab another character that looks like maybe they could be power suit oriented. We're going to fit, or no, we're going to fill. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think it was letting you see the browse, but it does let you see as it pops in. So as I said, both of these are stock art pieces I picked up on Drive-Thru RPG. And I think they're sufficient to get us going at least. And then, if we get these two done, maybe we'll hop into a couple more. Just checking the chat real quick to see if we had any questions. Don't see any so far. So based on luck of the draw, one of the other things I like about working directly in InDesign when I'm doing my community content is that it makes reorganizing things real easy. You want to put your antagonists in alphabetical order, for example. But let's say as I'm going through, I decide to name this dude. We'll call him the Dark Archer. Right? So let's say later I decide when I get over to the next character I want to call her Anaconda. If I'm working right there, and InDesign, it's just a matter of swapping things around. Pretty simple, pretty easy. So that's another reason I like to do it. One of the roadblocks I will warn you about if you do plan on doing layouts in doing your actual writing inside your layout program is they're often not very good at spell checking. So you really want to pay extra attention to that, or you'll wind up with an embarrassing number of typos in your releases over the course of your career, like a certain streamer might have had. Okay, so for Dark Archer, I like the idea. So Edgebrook Rooftops is designed to be something of a street level supplement. So I'm a big fan. I do love having just a straight up, Nova antagonist, and I'm sure we will get to some of those. The Trinity Continuum is a continuum, and it's nice to have people maybe with some other abilities for our heroes to go up against. So let's look at Dark Archer here, and let's say that they're going to be just kind of a enhanced human, some kind of enhanced baseline. If you go over into Aberrant, there's actually some guidelines around page 267 for making antagonists that are enhanced. It's specifically a making Nova antagonist sidebar, but it also talks about creating enhanced humans, and then using quantum as a source, even if technically they're not using quantum, just to keep things easy, keep yourself from avoiding confusion, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do here, we've got Dark Archer. We're going to figure out what power level we want to have him at. Now, again, this is something of a street level supplement, so we don't want to make him too powerful. But there are often, in a game at the table, there are often 3 to 6 relatively powerful um, novas that might be coming into play. You're never quite sure what you're going to contend with. Obviously, unless someone's doing like a one-on-one play where they're assuming the role of Night Watch, they're going to have a bit of a team. And of course, that doesn't mean the villains can't work with them either. But we want to say so. I've said all of that to say this. I think we want to avoid minor threats and maybe start our operating around medium threat. So we're going to head over to the Trinity Continuum core just to check and see what points the spread offers in the handy dandy antagonist reference table. It's on page 139 of the core. And now these number spreads too, I can't stress enough. These are guidelines for you. If you are building a antagonist and you're like, okay, I want to be in the moderate threat range, but like I would like maybe I want their primary pool to be a little bit better. You can just do that. Or if you feel like you need to be a stickler to the numbers, you can always shift one trait up and then another trait down to sort of set those off. But these are, designed to be fast and fun more than they are designed to be strictly adhered to under a tight mathematic structure, if that makes sense. So yeah, for the Dark Archer here, we're going to go with a moderate threat that prescribes a primary pool of 8, secondary pool of 6, desperation pool of 4. We get enhancement of 2. We will be looking at the defense of 4, health of 5, he's got 6 dots and edges. And a source of 4 and 4 anomaly powers. So this is another thing where I think sometimes it might be getting overlooked. When you're designing antagonists for use in an Aberrant game, absolutely Nova antagonists are awesome and a good thing to use. Even just if you're pulling, like Mitoids aren't really Novas, but they use Mega Attribute type stuff. But don't necessarily skip on the anomaly powers. Those can be very cool, and you can also tweak them. You can build your own ones. If you want to have an anomaly power that grants scale, for example, or that gives the ability to ignore scale differences, there's no reason not to do that. Just make sure you write it down and make sure not only for your own sort of, I guess, ease of reference and peace of mind, but also for that of your players. Make sure that you're just presenting it consistently. Like that's the most important thing. Making sure, and if you're writing it in, down in the community content thing, you want to make sure obviously that you're stating as clearly as possible, and that, again, that it's presented in a fashion that's consistent with the rest of the work. So maybe since I've just talked about the virtues of that approach, maybe we will make up an anomaly power for our Dark Archer to have. So we're gonna say 3 existing, 1 new. Okay. Sorry, I have a very sore arm for some reason. It's my right arm. Otherwise, I'd probably not be streaming. I'd be on the way to an ER. But I am fine. Anyways, so we got our numbers figured out. We have a basic overlook of what we're doing. Now, obviously, if you're unfamiliar with the Trinity Continuum sort of layout for the way story guide characters and antagonists work, is you have your primary pool, which represents the actions that the antagonists exist to perform, the roles that they will make, assuming they're showing up and performing their primary function in a story, right? So we know that Dark Archer here is going to be an archer. So I would assume that one of those is going to be archery. And usually a good rhythm is to put at least 2, maybe sometimes 3 for the primary and 2 for the secondary pool. But at least 2 things that the pool applies to. So we're going to give him archery and stealth for his primary pool. And I think for his secondary pool, let's see, what do we want him to be able to focus on as well? He's got, looks like there's a little bit of technology going on there. He's got, some pouches. He's got some additional weapons on there. That looks like there might be some sort of a technological element to that bow. So maybe our secondary pool will go toward gadgetry. And let's maybe say acrobatics. Right? He's hopping around rooftops. He's out there getting his parkour on a day-to-day. So let's give him some ability there. Logicor asks, why are the text blocks written in Latin? Well, at the moment, they are placeholders. That is lorem ipsum text. It's just there to keep place so that you can see roughly how many words a space is going to take up. Just working on our way down to it. I usually don't delete it out until I get to the point where I'm actually writing in that section. So yeah, we've got our primary pool 8 in archery and stealth, our secondary pool of 6 in gadgetry and acrobatics. I'm going to make those acrobatics and gadgetry because it again, alphabetization just makes things easier to follow. Then our desperation pool is 4. We're looking at a +2 enhancement. That will apply effectively anytime that they're using a pool that is not their desperation pool. An antagonist will add whatever enhancement rating they have as a base to that roll. So as it stands right now, if Dark Archer is going to fire an arrow at Nightwatch, he would roll 8 dice. And if any of those dice came up with a material success on them, he would get an additional 2 successes based on that enhancement. Sound fair? Clear enough? Excellent. I happy to be of service and offer some clarification there, Logicor. It's just a thing that I think publishing has used pretty much since there's been printing presses, or at least since there's been layouts to predict how many words something is going to be. I haven't really given much thought. Dark Archer is a name that I just popped in because I was looking at the picture and said, we need a name, so that's what we're going to go with. I might refine it before release, but for the moment, that's what they are. Maybe they'll be the Dark Archer. Maybe they will be just that'll be a role that they're assigned, like an archetype type name. Haven't gotten that far. Haven't decided yet. But I'm open to suggestions, of course, too. It's part of the fun of doing shows like these where we're doing live creation. So now we have 6 dots and edges. We just talked a little bit about how we were imagining them sort of doing parkour roof to roof and whatnot, right? So I think it might be pretty cool to give them some edges that might help with that. So going into the core book, a lot of these things when you're building antagonists, you can pull straight out of core. You don't necessarily need to dive through into Aberrant until you start really getting into diving heavy into Nova related antagonists. So let's give him let's do free running and sniper. I think those would be 2 things that would be very good for our archer. And let's do both of those edges at 3. And I will also go back through when it's all said and done and change the things that are supposed to be dots to dots. Release it. So technically, whenever you're using edges, source, you should have dots in there. Excellent. I'll clean this up a little bit as we're going through. So for source, we're going to go with 4. And we will, as the Aberrant book recommends, we'll go ahead and call that quantum. And just to make a quick double check, I'll pop over to Aberrant and check how many quantum points that gives our guy to spend. So then while I'm sifting through this, if anybody broadhead the Dark Archer, that's kind of dope. I dig that. Let me type that in so I don't forget it. Not that it's not written in front of me, so I suppose I don't have to. Nice. See, I'm looking up to see what the quantum pool is. One of the things that has made me just remarkably lazy as a both as a creator and as a story guide is the ability to use Control F in my PDFs. Though the other day I actually got together with some friends of mine to play Exalted Essence, which if you have not yet checked out, I highly recommend you do. It's available in POD and PDF over at DriveThruRPG. And we got together in person with books, sitting around a table like real people, and yeah, we just rocked it out. And I didn't have the PDFs on me to do a quick sift through, and it worked out fine. Turns out you can, in fact, still run games without PDFs, but sometimes it is a little slower. So right now I'm looking specifically for our quantum pool numbers. I believe it's going to turn out to be yeah, 30 quantum points of quantum 4. Just double checking to make sure my formatting is not too wonky. One thing you can always do when you're working on community content stuff, just to make sure that you're maximizing the quality of your presentation, is go back and check sources. Go back and see what has happened, what has been laid out in previous sources. Sometimes it never hurts to check multiple sources, because sometimes things get shifted around as the line evolves, or you grab a source that might have an error in it. They do happen, and you want to make sure that you're doing things in the most common, or I guess standardized fashion, just so it looks as much like the official product as possible. Having said that, one thing I want to be absolutely clear about is I'm doling out some of the like layout advice and design advice and things like that. Um, there's no reason that, like, if you feel like you can't do it, maybe because you don't have InDesign, or maybe you just can't figure out the word formatting and whatnot. There's still ways. Don't let that be an obstacle. You can, if you have something that is a cool idea that you want to put it out there. Don't let layout and stuff like that be an obstacle in the way. As long as it's a clean, legible document, um, that people can follow and that's useful. There's no reason not to get it out there. Don't feel like you have to match this level of quality. I'm just trying to give you tips for, if things that'll help you get there, I guess. Okay, so we have the source as quantum. We're going to have 4 anomaly powers. We're going to pull 3 existing and 1 new. And I think what we will do for the anomaly powers, we are going to take kind of a shotgun approach. I think I'm going to pull a little bit from the base anomaly powers. Just sift through there, see if there's anything that we want. So, like, for example, we could put enhanced attack on their bow and arrow if we wanted to add some extra tags, for example. So yeah, in fact, what we're going to do is I'm going to use one of those, and we're going to go enhanced attack. And that allows you to place one single weapon tag that costs 2 points or less on an attack. Now, this is for example, if you wanted to put the brutal tag on an acid spitting power. That's kind of the way it's designed straight up. Oh, that's cool, LogicCore. You know what? I mean, to each their own. I am a huge fan of Essence, but part of the reason I think that I guess I'll put it this way. The reason that I've enjoyed it so much is because it hasn't required me to know that much to dive into. I can understand the perspective that Exalted is a intimidating and deep lore situation to investigate, and some of those books can look a bit scary. In Essence, really cuts to the quick of it, unless you get past a lot of that. And I think the system is just quick and fun. But I am never one to slap the dice out of somebody else's hand. Definitely play the version that you enjoy. So yeah, in terms of weapon tags, we're going to go ahead and use that ability to just actually give ourselves some neat new weapon tags. Sorry, my desk is squeaky. I have a bad habit of leaning. So let's go to 199 here in Aberrant. Yeah, absolutely. What you do, Logic, is you pick up Essence and you hook all the people who you've been trying to get into Essence for 20 years, and you get them to play a couple games of that. And then once they've had the time of their lives, then you break out the big, thick, Exalted 3 and your Alchemical when it drops. Let's see. There's a specific tag I'm looking for that I believe is introduced in Aberrant. I'm sure going to feel funny if it's in the other book, but yep. Okay, we're going to go with a variable ammo tag on that. What that'll allow us to do is effectively give them some, straight up trick arrows, right? So they'll be able to fire multiple types of ammunition, each of which can have a different set of tags. Most often explosive, ranged gas, incendiary, non-penetrating, piercing, spread, or stun. Use of the variable tag is equal to the cost of the most expensive tag the ammo can use. So since these are all going to be 2-point tags, effectively you will get a wide array. You'll have a wide array of trick arrows you can assign to the creature to the SGC without having to think too hard on it. You've got those 2 tags that you can pop on at all times. The math behind the quantum points to 30 is that quantum pool. Let me dig it out specifically from character creation. But your quantum pool is based on your quantum rating. So you have a quantum. Sorry, I'm just digging through the character creation section. There's a table in Aberrant that breaks it down, but effectively I believe it's 15 as base and then 5 per quantum after that. And if it's not, I'll feel very silly. My search function is not treating me nicely. It's probably because I'm looking for the word quantum in the Aberrant book, which is just an exercise in futility. But whilst I am searching for that, so we've got that variable ammo tag, which is a nice, easy way to represent the ability to have multiple trick arrows. So rather than just deciding these arrows are piercing and ranged, you can tack on whatever. It gives the story guide freedom to choose what they want their arrows to be able to do, and it also keeps me from having to write out stats for 40 different trick arrows. So it's kind of a win-win. Oh, Logicore, don't. I'm no good at math, so don't take my word for things. As far as like what a equation works. I cannot find the table at all. It's in here somewhere, but I'll go back and double check that later. It might be 20 plus 5 per. I'm not sure. Um, at the end of the day, it's something that can be fixed once I can actually dig it up and I'm not in the middle of a stream. Um, have fun. I appreciate it. Enjoy. Thanks for stopping through. Um, so we had 3 more anomaly powers to um, whip through. We could. I stay that way, Tom. You know how I do. Um, welcome to the stream, Tom Moore. Everybody, give Tom a round of applause if you're in the chat. Tom's good. Tom's good. People runs several streams for us over here, and is just a general delight and joy. So, again, just digging through those anomaly powers. They offer extraordinary speed. I don't necessarily think we want this person to be like super fast or anything. Well, I appreciate you popping in at least beforehand. Thank you so much for being here, even if it's briefly. Flight, I think we're going to skip for our for Broadhead. No reason to get into uh, giving the archer flying powers. That seems a little maybe like a bridge too far. Um, uh, this is interesting. One of the anomaly powers in core is hyper intelligent. That creature gets a genius level intelligence, and they make no rolls with their desperation pool. Um, additionally, it likely comes with at least 1 super science device. So that's another way to sort of, I guess, shore up your base antagonist. Given that hyper intelligent, instead of dipping directly into mega intellect, which is one way to address gadgetry, that's fine. If you dip into the hyper intelligent, you're covering a lot more ground for the antagonist than you would be normally. So let's do hyper intelligent. That gives us 2 left. So because I said we're going to hop back and forth, and for exactly no other reason, um, I'm going to hop over to Aberrant to figure out what we want to do with that last anomaly power. I think we'll give them um, a mega edge, perhaps. Just a little something to sweeten the deal. Make them a little touch of something. Maybe it's from experience to, or for exposure to quantum. Maybe it's just a general, um, thing they've developed naturally. But we'll go ahead and give them. We'll grab one of these mega edges for them. So. Going into our list of mega edges. I'm thinking right off the top, accuracy might be cool. That would apply to. We normally require them to have mega dexterity. Maybe let me look and see what we've got that doesn't have mega attribute prerequisites. While I'm digging through for that, everybody be sure to stay hydrated. It's important. And right now I'm just kind of browsing through to see what our options are that don't necessarily require us to dump some points into mega attributes. Having said that, though, we do have 4 points, so maybe we wait for creating that new anomaly power until something else comes through. Or we just give them a straight up power. Why not? We can do that too. We can do anything we want. Sky's the limit. That's part of the fun of community content creation, right? Oh, here's a fun one. Especially because our archer is going to be relying on their archery and relying on that variable ammo tag so much. There's a 1-dot mega edge called Prodigy. It has no prerequisites other than a dot in the chosen skill. So why don't we give them the Prodigy Archery? I guess it would be Prodigy Aim. I should probably use the name of the actual skill, huh? And what that does is you can spend 1 quantum point to use any skill trick associated with the skill as if you possess that skill trick. It does still require momentum to activate since this is a antagonist. You could either choose to ignore that, or you could use tension if you are using a tension pool, or you could have it work as perhaps even a way of whittling down the collateral pool, like they can pull collateral for it. My suggestion and the way I believe it would read would be they would just make the quantum point expenditure. There's no need to involve momentum because it's a SGC. But I just like to pepper in a couple of other options while we're at it. So, in fact, so we're coming down to our new anomaly ability. Want to build something out new, something that's focused on their archery capabilities, and something that it's going to be a great deal of fun. Maybe that might confound their enemies. So let's see. Maybe because we don't necessarily have to adhere to like the structures of the quantum powers or mega attributes as we're building these anomaly abilities, we have a little bit of free reign in the design space to play. One thing I am, it's probably no secret, I'm a big fan of the old Marvel comics superheroes role playing game from like the 80s. One of the abilities they had in there was invisibility to machines. So what if maybe we have like a this new anomaly power is let's do how about electronics or sensor OR foil. And what that sensor foil ability will do put a nice little handy C below in there so we're not messing up our beautiful little stat block with our breakdown of how this works. And instead we will go down below our stats. We will add new anomaly power. Sensor foil. And as you're breaking down the wording for your anomaly powers, you just want to make sure that you're being as concise as possible and that you're conveying your intent as clearly as you can. One thing that sometimes I think maybe new players or story guides might find a little confounding about Storypath in general and Trinity Continuum specifically is that it is, it is a fast and loose kind of a system. There's wiggle in it, and that wiggle is not a feature; it's a bug, or not a bug. It's a feature. It's intended. There's room to interpret things at your table, and that's definitely intentional. So you don't want to over-explain when you're, I guess, creating a new anomaly power. As I over-explain, not wanting to over-explain it. You just want to give kind of the basic amount of information that they need to be able to have it function without screwing up their table. Try to head off as many arguments as you can in the past and understand that it's never going to be perfect. So just do your best. So the idea we want this to be is that electronic sensors, so we'll say technology, how about creature is how do I want to phrase this? Well, for whatever I always go back and clean it up. For whatever reason, this creature, how about for whatever reason, machines and other technological machines and technological devices experience difficulty perceiving this creature. Right? For whatever reason, machines and technological devices experience difficulty perceiving this creature. So we want to make it nice and fast and quick and easy. So let's just say that the creature can increases the difficulty You can frame it a couple ways. You could have increased difficulty, because again, you want it to be framed as an antagonist, right? So you want it to be something, you want the system to brush up against what the players are going to be doing. So one way you may do that is, how about this? Any attempt to perceive the creature using electronic equipment or just break it down simply by using technology. Any attempt to perceive creature via technological means suffers, let's say, how about an increase in difficulty equal to half of the creature's source rounded up? It's probably a little too wordy, a little too complicated to do off the fly. A lot of these deal in ones and twos, however, Yeah, let's hand it off a complication. No. Yeah, let's do a complication equal to if unresolved. This. I was going to say if this is unresolved, the complication would be the idea being that if you're perceiving them through technological means, so you're using security cameras, you are using a radar device, whatever the case may be, you get a complication equal to half their source. If you don't resolve that complication, maybe difficulties to perceive them by any means. No, I don't want it to. I don't want it to spill over though. Maybe you know what? Let's make it real simple. We'll just rather than adding a complication, we'll just have it be a flat out +2 difficulty, and I will stop overcomplicating my life. There we go. That's a nice, flat, easy way of looking at it. Sometimes, rather than trying to untie the knot, you just cut the knot and you move on with your life. Okay. So yeah, our sensor foil power, for whatever reason, machines and technological devices experience difficulty perceiving this creature. Any attempt to perceive the creature via technological means suffers a +2 difficulty. Bam, done. Excellent. So now we have our stat blocks sorted out for the most part. I do need to go back and clear it up. But let's think about his history, right? Let's take a look at the art real quick. So this guy is an older fella. He's got a beard, right? So let's assume that he is a legacy villain, okay? Let's assume that since, as we mentioned before, Nightwatch is a legacy hero. She is the second person to hold the mantle of Nightwatch. Her predecessor was the city defender for several years before his retirement. So maybe we go ahead and say that maybe we go ahead and say that he initially fought the original Nightwatch. And we'll say let's see. Let's write him a little backstory that goes back prior to End Day. We'll say that this person has been an enhanced criminal, a career criminal since at least a full decade before End Day. Maybe we'll say he got his start as a burglar. How's that sound? Maybe not burglar. Maybe how about this? How about Broadhead's career as criminal began a full decade before End Day as a seasoned hunter. Broadhead began his career, let's say, already a seasoned hunter. How about that? Already a seasoned hunter, Broadhead began his career working as a bounty hunter for anyone who could pay his fee. Uh, this often led him to hunt down criminals on behalf of interests on both sides of the law. So, yeah, Broadhead started out as mercenary, basically, was hunting folks down, both, like bond jumpers, as well as, say, somebody goes into witness protection or something along those lines. Maybe you hire Broadhead to find that somebody and to make them pay for their crimes against the interests. See you later, Tom. Have a good one. Thanks for popping your head in. So yeah, and then now we've got a basic operation of where Broadhead came from. We'll say early into Night Watch One's career, or better yet, shortly after Night Watch One became an official municipal defender. Shortly after Night Watch One became an official municipal defender. The pair crossed paths while Night Watch was, we'll say, hunting a well. How about this? How about we have him hunting a mob lieutenant who was getting ready to turn state's evidence. And this also brings us back down to like, why do we have the lorem ipsum text, right? We can see that I'm starting to uh, eat up a little bit more of the room. So I don't want to, do I want to go a full two columns with this, or do I want to, truncate the broadhead stats even more? And I think what I'm going to do, because I clearly have a little bit more to say right now, we just know that how Broadhead even met Night Watch 1. We have no characteristics of their interactions. So what I'm going to do while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to throw in my nice little PXX reference to where Night Watch 1 can be found. Which is, of course, the Edgebrook Rooftops on page 9. And another thing that I would highly recommend if you're doing community content is to take full advantage of the ability to place links inside of your document, inside your PDF. And Drive-Thru RPG and all of the associate sites like Storytellers Vault and DM's Guild allow you to set up your account for affiliate links. So you can go through and like basically anytime you're referencing an existing book, you can pop in an affiliate link in that reference. So that way, if folks want to go pick up the book, they can do so if they don't already have it, and you get a couple of extra chunks of change in the exchange. It's a win-win. Everybody's happy. So yeah, we've seen that we're clearly going to run over into the second column here. So we have a couple choices to make. Do we try to shorten up his description? I don't think so. I think we have more to say. Do I want to just drag him across the top and have it be a 2-column deal? We could do that. Alternatively, and I think I'm going to try it and just see what we come up with. Alternatively, we could pop our anaconda over there, and we could bring this up and set it up so that this fits the frame to the content. So we have the full body shot of our friend here. We'll set him a ways down the page. And we could bring this up, make it into kind of a full run, but so effectively we could set this up so that the text will wrap around his body. It's just going to take me a minute to get there. So if you're in InDesign, you can set it up to as a clipping path to detect edges. I don't know why it's going black instead of white. Oh, because the thing did. So there we go. Better yet, let's go with none. Nice and clear. You set up your text wrap to adhere to that clipping path, and you can already see how that's working to where it effectively now the text will sort of ride the edge of the drawing's outline. It's a handy little trick, handy little thing to have in your back pocket. I'm going to make him a little bit bigger, so he's eating up a little bit more of that real estate. We'll bring him over this far. Maybe we'll get rid of some of that cape. And some of these things are just going to be like straight up judgment calls you're going to have to make while you're working on it, you know? Like, see, like the asymmetry of the art itself not having that upper the upper end of the bow is going to bother me a little bit, so I'll rest him up here. But now, as you can see, the text is wrapping around. So really what our job is at this point now is if we're going to commit to doing the art this way, let's go ahead and make sure we have enough text to call for it, right? So we're still in the process of kind of explaining where dude came from. I say Broadhead's career as a criminal began a full decade before End Day. Already a seasoned hunter, Broadhead began his career working as a bounty hunter. So, how about, since we're mentioning his career twice, let's clean that up a little bit. Broadhead, transitioned to working as a bounty hunter for anyone who could pay his fee. This often led him to hunt down criminals on behalf of interests operating on both sides of the law. So shortly after Night Watch 1, became an official municipal defender. The pair crossed paths while Night Watch was it should be while Broadhead. Pair crossed paths while Broadhead was hunting lieutenant. Broadhead was to kill the mobster before he could testify against his bosses. And we'll say Night Watch intervened, saving the mobster and causing Broadhead's first real professional failure. So now we have a reason for them not to like each other. So we'll then say that from there, let's plant the seed for a long-term rivalry between. How about a long-term? Excuse me. Get some water in me. That makes it sound a little too nice, I think. So, Broadhead was to kill the mobster before he could testify against one of his bosses. Night Watch intervened, saving the mobster and causing Broadhead's first real professional failure. How about we say that, like, Broadhead, this isn't just like a, haha, or nemesis. Like, Broadhead hates this dude, like, wants him dead, right? So, we'll say that Broadhead was carted off to prison. No, not yet. We'll say Broadhead eluded capture, but swore vengeance on Night Watch. For causing him embarrassment, right? Spiritual professional failure. Broadhead eluded capture, but swore vengeance on Night watch, just for his interference. For years thereafter, or for the next several years, we'll say that Broadhead continued to operate So the idea is, for the next several years, Broadhead continued to operate as a mercenary. But whenever he was in Nightwatch's city, we'll say he we'll say he so he took the time, or he worked, he ensured, he made life difficult for his nemesis. Okay, well, how about Broadhead? Staged several attacks on Nightwatch. Employing such tactics as, let's say, committing robberies and endangering innocents to draw the municipal defender's attention. And then maybe, although he always suffered defeat, or though frequently defeated, Nightwatch, Broadhead eluded capture and continued tormenting frequently defeated. Broadhead eluded capture and how about, though invariably defeated, Broadhead eluded capture and continued tormenting Nightwatch 1 until his retirement. The template has a little bit of room to drag down and still be within the guidelines of the book, so we're going to go ahead and do that. When a new municipal defender assumed Night Watch's name, Broadhead chose to continue How about we'll say, when a new municipal defender assumed Night Watch's name, Broadhead chose to transfer his hostility and grudge to the new Night Watch. Or how about just to Night Watch 2? Or how about to the new hero? Um, okay, so Broadhead and Night Watch 2 have faced each other twice, and both times Broadhead has barely escaped. And we just need a nice little summary of what that means. So, maybe this hasn't deterred him from pursuing hostilities. Okay, so we've got a new municipal offender assumed Night Watch's name. Broadhead chose to transfer his hostility and grudge to the new hero. Broadhead and Night Watch 2 have faced each other twice, and both times Broadhead has barely escaped. This hasn't deterred him from pursuing hostilities against Night Watch 2. If anything, it has encouraged him to try harder to kill his enemy's namesake. Sound significantly menacing and terrible? I think so. So now we've got this effectively built. I'm going to try to go ahead and see if we can do something a little bit better about the spacing of this artwork. Again, I do not know kind of what the tools in Word are like as far as how much control you have over placing artwork and such, because I don't use it for that. But in InDesign, you can certainly do some fancy footwork with your images to kind of get what you're looking for. Let's go. How about we go with? Let's undo that. Let's go with fill frame proportionally and see what that gives us. And a lot of times doing layout, you just kind of play with ideas and see what sticks and see what doesn't. Not all of your ideas are going to be winners. And that goes for when you're writing and when you're doing layout. Looks like we might have gone a little too big here. Oh boy. So, you spend a little bit of time just kind of dialing in the specifics, getting things where you want them to be, and just making sure that it looks as clean as possible. And see, I'm not in love with how those legs are coming together down there. So maybe the key is to undo all this hopping around we've been doing with that image. Go back to about this size. And instead of having this wrap to our largest area, we go over to our wrap options, which I'm sure you probably can't see on Twitch, and have it wrap the side away from the spine. That should give us a little bit more wiggle room. And then you can really get in here and refine all these anchor points are kind of where the image wraps to. So you can edit those out, or you can grab a rectangle tool and toss a rectangle that has see right, that would be bad. We don't want that. So we can go in and we can make it a no fill, no outline rectangle, but we can add some text wrap to it, so the text goes to the other side of it. And then we can try select that, bring it up just a little bit, just trying to make sure we've got as clean as possible. Because I also don't like this orphan that's hanging out here at the bottom. So we'll fill that up, and bang, we have our description. All nice and laid out for our good friend Broadhead the Dark Archer. Now, since we decided to get, and by we I do in fact mean me, since I decided to get all fancy with the last one, and we got about 20 minutes, or no, about 30 minutes left on what I had intended to broadcast today, I'm going to do a little, once I get done doing this, a little bit of cleaning up. We're going to, no, not that. Load that place cursor. Drop the text over here. Set this up to follow our 2-column setup that we have at the other page. I'm going to take this picture, drag it over yonder. Make sure it lines up with our guidelines, because those are there for a reason. Make sure everything looks nice and pretty. And we'll pop some that down just so it's out of the way, but let's pop some text wrap. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now we have a nice, pretty little image of where we can put our next enemy. Checking in with chat real quick. Oh, welcome, new folks. How's everybody doing? We are doing some community content creation here. just having a grand old time. I've just completed creating one antagonist for Aberrant, and we spent some time on it on Broadhead here. Partially, let me make sure that you can see that now because I have been doing some dancing. So let me make sure that I've got him where you can read him. Yeah, that's not great. Let's give me a second while I fix that up. There we go. So we've been doing some work on our first creation, Broadhead. I wanted to play with it a little bit, show off some of the things that weren't just grabbing stuff out of the Aberrant book to do with a antagonist, and kind of just give a couple of options. So let me fix this. Okay, it's right. I just wanted to make sure that the alphabetization was right. And if you've been watching from the start, we haven't added any additional anomaly powers that would affect health, defense, or initiative, so those are going to just stay where they're at for the template. All right, so now we're going to go the other route since we've had kind of a thoughtful sort of playing with the rules, seeing how creative we could get with the first one. This one we're going to go for a speed run. I've got 26 minutes left of this stream. We're going to see if I can get an NPC done in that amount of time. Hirsch, a red snake. So because I'm not good at naming things and I am marginally better at Googling, I'm going to Google red snakes and see what kind of snakes are red. There's the scarlet king snake. Why don't we change that? Since I have a beautiful cobra tattoo on my one arm, let's call her the Scarlet Cobra. And because we want to make things extra fancy and fun, and because we want to do this quickly, rather than building her out, initially I had thought, okay, let's build her out as like a super suit. You know what? We'll still do that. There is in the Aberrant book sort of like templated super suits. So let's just go back here. There's a couple under the quick creation. There's also a couple under the actual QTech section. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I don't, and okay, so yeah, what I'm going to do is we're going to make her, because we use the moderate threat for our good buddy Broadhead. Let's use the major threat for the Scarlet Cobra. So that's going to give her a primary pool of 9, secondary pool of 7, desperation pool of 5, I'm not sure why that uses a different layout on that one. So to make our lives easier, we're going to just copy that over here, actually. Beautiful. All right. Make sure I'm lining this up in a way that you can see it, because it's way more important that you see this than I do even, really. Okay. So we're going to give her 975. So she is going to, all right, we'll give her an enhancement of 4. She gets 4 4 defense, 6 health. Initiative equal to her desperation pool. Oh, I forgot to change that on Broadhead over there. And give me just a moment because I just want to double, triple check something here. Looking back in the anomaly rules to make sure that call I made on initiative was right. Yep. Okay. Just use one of their action pools. I usually make it the desperation pool. That seems like it's the fairest to your players. Though, if you want to be challenging, you can certainly just take whichever pool you're using for combat and make that their initiative pool. Because antagonists aren't necessarily what you would call fair. Not always. All right. So the template calls for the initiative equal to desperation pool, so that's fine. Now we get into the fun parts for doing a Nova antagonist. Edges are 7, so we're just going to get rid of that. We're going to say 7 dots, and I'm going to just delete so we have some dots there on the sheet to work from. Our source is 5. So we're going to add 1 more point of quantum. And I would point out, I couldn't find this for the life of me earlier. The quantum point breakdown is on page 180 of Aberrant in the powers and abilities section. There is a nice little handy table, and your first dot of quantum gives you 15 points, and it's an additional 5 points per dot thereafter. So my math actually was right. It is 30 points at quantum 4. At quantum 5, it becomes 35, which is what the Scarlet Cobra has. All right. Now we get into anomaly powers. Anomaly powers, the template for major threat calls for 5 anomaly powers. So I'm just going to write that number down here. But then I'm going to hop over to at the beginning of the stream. I said in the Aberrant antagonist section, there's a nice little sidebar about building Nova antagonists. And it recommends in here that they can use their edge points to get mega edges, and as a good rule of thumb, double or triple the number of anomaly points and assign them as dots in mega attributes and quantum powers. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and triple that. So we're going to have 15 dots to spend between our quantum powers and stuff, and we have 7 dots in edges. So we are going to, once again, I am sorry. I'm just having a dry throat day. I know that there's a couple of battle suits in here that are sort of pre-built. So we're going to grab those as a skeleton to build the Scarlet Cobra's suit. And make all of our lives go a lot easier and make this build go a lot faster. So it's just a matter of finding the right here we go. All right, we have a cyber suit. This is a rank 7 device with an advancement of 4, which fits in nicely with Scarlet Cobra's range. So we're not really, it's not getting too far out of there. So what we're going to do is we're going to note under gear Do forgive me as I get this sorted out. There we go. And I'm just going to put Cybersuit and the lovely page number reference. Clean that up so it's a little prettier. And then, as I mentioned before, and I will remind you again, if you can, as much as possible, when you're referring out to other books, absolutely get yourself a affiliate link to throw in there. It gets you an extra few cents, or depending on what they click through and buy, a few dollars, and that that can add up over time. And there's literally no reason not to do it. So I was going to grab my Aberrant affiliate link. Pop that in here. We're gonna make you a hyperlink. Boom, your hyperlink. Let's bold you too, just to keep things pretty. And I'm spotting another opportunity I have to fix just a minor. There we go. My dots were bothering me, so I had to move them to a font that wasn't so spaced out like that. Icky looking. All right. As one does. Okay. Now that I've burnt, a good 2 minutes on that little exercise, we still have 15 minutes left. Can we make it? Only one way to find out. Don't worry about why that looks like that later. Once again, if you are new to the broadcast, feel free to ask any questions you might have in the chat. I want to remind you also once again that we are currently raising funds for Trinity Continuum Aegis over on BackerKit. We're in the final 48 hours, so if you haven't backed it yet, please consider heading over to do so. Okay, 15 minutes left. Let's see what we got here. We're gonna head over to page 243. We've gone with the cybersuit. That adds effectively 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 mega edges basically in it. We've got a couple powers I'll probably swap out. Yeah, I think I'll just use this as a basis rather than a straight copy. So we have 15 anomaly powers. We're going to grab Megamite at 3. Mega Dexterity at 3. And Mega Stamina at 3. So that should give us 6 points left. It's a kind of snaky suit. And we're getting away from that design, so I'm going to pull that reference out to the cyber suit. We're just going to call it the Cobra suit. And we're going to grant the Q-Tech Edge. And that'll just be at 7 ranks. Excellent. All right. So that eats up our edge points. We got the Cobra suit. We've got 6 more powers we can put into the suit. So obviously we can see there's some sharp sort of fingers to it, so we're going to want to add some claws. Let's frame that as a quantum attack. Of 3. And let's add, because if we look at the quantum attack power, that will provide a couple of extra things. So you gain quantum divided by 2 enhancement. We're not going to worry about that because it's already covered under her enhancement, kind of covers all that stuff. So should be operating a power scale of 3, which is nice. And then she can spend points equal to dots to improve the quantum attack. So we're not going to go with the close tag because instead of being ranged, it's going to be melee. So throw in a little semicolon so we know that, so we know that we're getting into different stuff here. Actually, I'll separate the tags off with brackets. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I'll go back through and double check how it's formatted against Proteus Nova Compendium, which I spent a long time on the formatting of, so that's really kind of the way that I try to match things to now. And then let's do them as so we get 3 extra tags we can add. So I say we add brutal and deadly. And then piercing to those claws. Make a real nasty set. So yep. Just in case you're not quite familiar with Storypath or this is your first time really looking at the antagonist side of things, the brutal tag allows you to inflict massive trauma with the attack power. It reduces the required successes for the critical stunt by 1. The deadly tag makes healing an injury condition caused by that attack require an extra success or a quantum power if you're using quantum point if you're using healing powers. And piercing excels at overcoming armor and reduces the target's soft armor rating by 1 for each dot of the associated attack power. Armor with the impervious tag is unaffected. So these claws are no joke. They're pretty nasty. And that will leave us with then 3 points left. So what do we do? Come on now, behave yourself. So what do we do with those last 3 points? We've got our mega attributes. We've got our last 3 points. Let's put those into, let's have the suit grant toughness, maybe? Got 3 points on it, right? So the toughness edge basically grants armor with the soft and complete tag, protecting against all forms of damage. And then each dot after the first provides +1 durability scale. You can also add the environmental and hard armor tags. So I tell you what, here's what we'll do. Let's pull that mega stamina of 3 out of there because it's not actually required for the armor to function, and I have better things to spend that on. We're gonna make it toughness 3. And that will add 3 more points back to our pool. So we have 6 points to spend on there. The armor is already soft 1 and complete. So since we have 6 points to spend, I'm gonna spend 2 on environmental. So it's a completely sealed system. And then let's add hard armor of 3. Which gives us 2 additional points of hard armor. So that bops our health up to 8. And that leaves us with 1 more quantum point we can spend. Let's kick that quantum attack up to 4. Or no, we'll leave it at 3. Just gonna add another power attack to it to represent it being poisonous. If we can afford it. Nope, poisonous 2, so we can't quite afford that. Actually, you know what? Here's what we'll do. Let's drop the hard armor down to 1. So it brings our health total down to 7. And then we're going to add the poison 3 as power tag using the last of our points. And what that will do with the quantum attack, that will allow the claws to also either cause an additional injury or the unconscious status condition from a toxin carried by the attack. And for 3 points, the attack can have either effect chosen when it's used. So she's got some really nasty claws there on the Scarlet Cobra's hands. We did not get a chance to come up with a backstory for the Scarlet Cobra, but I was able to get the stat block done in the allotted time frame. So that was a speed design of an antagonist and the Scarlet Cobra. That was and then of course our time we spent working on Broadhead was the majority of this episode. I gotta tell you, this has been a lot of fun. I had a really good time doing this. If you like watching and playing along with community content creation, definitely check out Behind the Screen, which is a show that Comrade Bubbles runs every other Tuesday. They were unable to make this week due to some scheduling kerfuffles, but 2 weeks from today, at I believe 9 a.m. Eastern, they usually are running, doing some community content. I think right now they're working on Realms of Pugmire stuff, but it's a great show, and I highly recommend you watch it. I also want to remind you that we are currently raising funds for Trinity Continuum Aegis over on BackerKit. So I'm going to pop the link to that in here one more time. We're down to less than 48 hours, so if you've not yet supported it, please head over there and do so. And I am going to hop off here and call it a day. I will be back here on the channel tomorrow night for a Trinity Continuum Aberrant one-shot using the Edgebrook rooftops. Some of the characters that you saw here might pop in. You never know. And the Night Watch's Rogues Gallery will be up at some point in the near future over at the Storypath Nexus, so keep an eye out for that. Lastly, if you want to join me on my channel over at Past Age Plays, I'll be over there probably within the next hour or so doing some streaming. So I would love to see you over there. Probably doing some game prep for my Wednesday morning stream over on Roll for Seduction. So yeah, until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Wash your hands, wear a mask, get your shots, all that fun stuff. And we will see you again real soon. All right, thanks.